on the Aggie Sports Network. From Learfield IMG College, this is Utah State women's basketball. Let's go to courtside.
Hey, welcome on in to the T. Glenn Smith Spectrum, where the Utah State women's basketball team gets ready to take on Boise State. Thanks for joining us this afternoon for Aggie Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com. I'm Jaden Johnson with today's broadcast. Utah State coming in 11-14 on the year, 6-8 in conference play, and they take on the number one team in the Mountain West Conference, the 21-3 Boise State Broncos, who have only lost one game since conference play began. Boise State, just a tough team who has consistently won for now several years in a row. In fact, they have been the Mountain West Conference tournament champs 3 of the past 4 years, and in pretty good shape to make another deep conference tournament run this season. Boise State 12-1 in conference play. Their lone loss coming a few weeks back at Wyoming. We all know how tough it could be to play in Laramie. Not many teams win in Laramie, and Boise State found that out. It was 64-52 loss. And that's, it's tough to hold Boise State down to 52 points. In fact, that's only been done one time this season, and that was that game that they lost against Wyoming. They're a very high-scoring, very explosive team. In fact, they average 76.3 points per game. That is good enough for first in the Mountain West Conference, 28th in the nation. You look down their schedule, and it's just it's rare for them to not put up 75, 80 points in a game. And so Utah State will have their hands full. Fortunately for the Aggies, Coach Finkbeiner said that he feels like it's actually a pretty solid matchup for Utah State, in that the Aggies have a good defense, especially a good perimeter defense, which is where Boise State excels. And the Aggies have started to find a little bit more shooting rhythm the past couple of games. That will be a huge key, is how can Utah State shoot the ball, because it's going to be tough to win this game if the Aggies don't put up 70 points or more. Boise State is without star guard Riley Lupfer, the junior who is the Mountain West Conference preseason player of the year. Will not be in the lineup for the Broncos today. She's missed the past 3 games with an injury, and so that's a huge blow for the Broncos. But you look at what they've done in those 3 games without her. Well, they beat San Jose State 83-69, beat Fresno State 83-76, and beat San Diego State 91-67. So they seem to be doing just fine, and Utah State still with a lot of work ahead of them if they want to have a chance to take down the team at the top of the Mountain West Conference, Boise State. You look at the Mountain West Conference standings, and again, it's them sitting alone up top, really with a little bit of space, as they're 12-1, and then New Mexico is the next team behind them at 11-3, and then Wyoming at 10-3. And so they've got a 2-game lead on both of those teams. However, still a few tough games to go. They've still got to play UNLV again. They've still got to play New Mexico again, but both of those games are in Boise. I think this Bronco team, it feels pretty good about their chances to win yet another regular season title, and then to be the number 1 seed going into the Mountain West Conference tournament starting in a few weeks. Boise State is coming off of a bye week. They had a midweek bye, and before that, they had 2 home games in a row. So the last time they traveled was on the 9th of this month. It's the 23rd, so they've had a lot of time in Boise to rest and recuperate and prepare for this final stretch of their schedule. And they're looking to come out strong. I think you're going to see a lot of energy on this Boise State squad. And Utah State is going to have to neutralize that early on. It's going to be tough to keep them down in the first quarter especially. Utah State coming in off of a loss out at New Mexico. Now, that game was interesting. It was a very fun, very close game through really 3 quarters. I mean, I commented multiple times during that broadcast how much fun it was just to watch that game, because both the teams seemed so deadlocked, so even. And you look at New Mexico, that's a good team. That's a team that's right on top of the Mountain West Conference standings. They're 21-4, or I guess right in second place, I should say, behind Boise. They're 21-4, 11-3 in conference play. And the Aggies looked every bit as tough as them through 3 quarters. That's a big caveat. In the fourth quarter, however, it was all New Mexico. 19-6, they outscored the Aggies to pull away, get the 74-56 victory. Now, I think that there were a lot of factors in that. Sure, it's tough to play on the road, and there were 6,000 people there in attendance, and it's a higher elevation than Logan even by a couple thousand feet. And so it's tough to play a solid 4 quarters in a place like that. That's probably part of it. Another part is just that Utah State's shooting fell off. Rachel Brewster came out and had a monster game, a 20-point game. That came 2 away from a career high and set her new season high of 20 points. She shot 9 of 20. Just a really good offensive game from her. But she wasn't getting a ton of help as Shannon Duffy, who leads the Aggies in scoring, had a good game rebounding the ball, had 12 rebounds, also had 4 assists, but only 6 points. So she didn't get a little bit much help from her. Went 3 of 13 from the field, and not another Aggie player got into double digits outside of Rachel Brewster. And so it's tough for one player to maintain that kind of offensive efficiency throughout a full game when they're not getting much from their teammates. And that was kind of the case there. It worked for the first 3 quarters, and then things fell apart a little bit in the crunch time. New Mexico, just a very, very good team. Their bench came in and played enormous. Antonia Anderson came in, had 13 points, 7 rebounds. Jaden Taylor-Serta came in, had 14 points, while Utah State's entire bench scored 4 in that game. So, at this point of the season, depth is very, very important. And Utah State has shown that maybe that's a little bit of an issue. And they're going to need a little bit of more help from the bench players if they want to have a chance to beat the top team in the Mountain West Conference, Boise State. The Broncos are still outside the AP Top 25. I don't know how a team at this point of the season could be 21-3 and still be outside the top 25, but they are on the outside looking in, ranked number 31 right now. Probably not far from getting in if they continue this winning. And just a lot of things to like about this Boise State team. I mentioned they score 76.5 points per game, leads the conference. They only allow their opponents 63.5. That's 6th in the conference. They don't have the most dominating defense, and they play a faster pace, and so their defensive numbers don't look fantastic. But it's in some regard, it's similar to a New Mexico kind of a style where they just run and gun. They don't take much shot clock. You're going to see them put up a whole lot of shots in this game. They are 19th in the nation in assists per game, 17 per game. That's remarkable. In field goal percentage, they shoot 45.7%. That's good enough for 22nd in the nation. So they take a lot of shots, and they don't miss many of them, 45.7%. From 3, they take a lot of shots, and they make a lot of shots. They make 8.3 per game, 32nd in the nation, and they shoot 36.4%. That's 30th in the nation. So shooting the ball is the absolute strength of this Boise State team. They just don't miss many shots. And, again, Utah State does have a pretty good perimeter defense, and they have held opponents to reasonable percentages throughout most of the season. And so I can see why Coach Finkbeiner is positive on this matchup and thinks that his team actually has a decent shot. Another factor to look at is this Boise State team. They've only lost 3 games all season, and they've only lost 2 road games all season, and so it's hard to pick much apart from that. However, at home, since conference play started, they're outscoring opponents 18.4 points per game. On the road, 4.2. So not nearly as good as a road team as they are at home. Now they're still winning games, and obviously that's what's important, and they'll be thrilled about that. But a win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 1 or by 30. But numbers do show they're maybe not quite as strong on the road, and an opponent having a really good game, as Utah State hopes to do, could potentially sneak up there. They have had a few close calls in conference play. I mean, they beat Nevada on the road by just a point. I think Utah State's a pretty comparable team to Nevada. They had a tight one at San Diego State, a 3-point game. So these are some of these road Mountain West games against truly lesser opponents than Boise State, where they've been held very tightly. again, came away with the win. But if you're Utah State, I think you're looking to that as a little bit of hope, saying, look, if these guys can hold them this close, maybe we can, and then maybe we can pull off the difference and hit the game-winning shot rather than missing it, or hold Boise State off at the very, very end. They do also have a lot of big victories, though, and Boise State, they can really put down some points. I mean, they've had several 90-point games this season, including their most recent game against San Diego State, 91 points in that one. They scored 99 against San Diego State. They scored 91 against Idaho, 93 against Southern Oregon. I mean, they can put up some points. Their only losses this season were to number 4 Louisville, where they lost 74-55. They lost again to Wyoming, 64-52 at Wyoming. And then this is a peculiar one. They lost at Washington State, 95-71. Peculiar because Utah State won at Washington State earlier this season and did so somewhat decisively. And so that was a surprising result to see. But that was back on the 1st of December, and I think Boise State has gotten significantly better since that point. So I was able to sit down and talk with Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner, as I've referenced a few times in this. And, I thought he had a lot of good insights about where his team sits at this point of the season. And only 4 games left, including this one, until the Mountain West Conference tournament begins. And so they are really, truly in the home stretch. And so some insightful comments from Coach Finkbeiner, and we're going to take a listen to those now. This was just about an hour and a half ago here at the arena. So we weren't able to talk after the last game against New Mexico, but I'd just like to get some of your thoughts on that game and how you feel like your team played in that one.
Well, I thought, Jaden, we played really well for 30 minutes. Fourth quarter just caved in on us. You have to credit New Mexico with that, and their 6,000 fans that became a part of the game. So, Wyoming and New Mexico are very tough road trips because of fan involvement, the numbers, the input they have into the game, how they influence the game, their kids, the officiating, the momentum. That came to play in the fourth quarter. And besides that, I think the New Mexico kids stepped up and played more physical. We kind of backed off a little bit, got in some foul trouble. Haley Bassett fouled out. I think Shannon Duffy had 4, I think. Eliza, 4 or 5. I can't remember that either. But it deteriorated pretty fast where the last 4 minutes of the game was it was over. So, but first 30 minutes, offense looked good. The first quarter was probably our best quarter of the year. Things were rolling. So I think we can take some positives from that game despite the loss.
It's funny you bring up Wyoming because it seems like both the New Mexico and the Wyoming games, similar in the sense that you were right there for 2.5, 3 quarters, and then they kind of pull away at the end. Of course, this one is a lot more high scoring. But do you think, is that more fatigue? Is it more of a mental thing, or what do you attribute it to?
Well, I think those 2 particular games is just our opponents. And their crowds and their home court and their tradition. Both those teams, both those programs have won a lot of games for a lot of years. Their fans are very savvy. The kids are locked into the tradition. It's on the signage. It's in the cheers. It's in the the fans' appearance, the dress, everything. So that comes to play down the stretch. That third, fourth quarters. It's just like in the men's game. Middle of the second half, the home team's crowd kicks in, and then it becomes really tough on the visiting team. So not to take anything away from our visitors, our opponents or ourselves. We were competitive, but we just couldn't hold our own down the stretch, and I think it's multifaceted. I don't think anything necessarily broke down. Fatigue could be, but I think probably more importantly, we had both those games a couple key kids in foul trouble. That hurt us. So, but I think both those games we definitely played them. Obviously beat Wyoming here. Tie ball game with 57 seconds with New Mexico here. So there's a difference in the Mountain West with those road games versus home games.
For sure. In that game you've had back-to-back really, really strong performances from Rachel shooting the ball, 17 points and 20 points. Both of those are season highs. How big is it going to be for this team going forward if she can continue that level of play and that level of consistency?
Well, we need somebody to do that, and the consistency is the key word for it. Haley and Shannon both have had their good games, and probably more good than bad. It's nice to see Rachel starting to step up that I pulled those three together after practice yesterday and basically said, I want you to shoot X amount of times and let the chips fall as it may be, but you three are our best percentage shooters. You should be our best volume shooters too. So I'm encouraging them to shoot more because of the percentages they take. Also, that's a 3, 4, and 5 position, which makes us more physical inside and maybe gives our guards a little more breathing room with their ball handling and passing. So I've been seeing this coming, but it hasn't manifested itself yet. But I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that those three young ladies can really begin kind of taking their games to game time, and where they can kind of pull us down the stretch and kind of lead us through the last 4 games and on into the conference tournament.
Now, when it comes to striking a balance between, getting into the paint, taking outside shots, do you come into games with a game plan of, we'd like maybe this percentage of our shots to come from outside, this percentage inside, or do you just kind of take what the defense gives you in any given game?
No, we've always, I don't have a percentage locked to it, but we definitely emphasize and encourage our percentage shooters, which happens to be Rachel, Shannon, and Haley, that they by far and away are shooting the best from the 2, shooting the best from the inside paint, shooting the best even from the 3. You throw Shannon's numbers in there with Rachel. So that being in mind, we're just kind of cultivating and nourishing the philosophy of these 3 also need to take the most shots for us. And so in a perfect world, we don't go on any one given possession without 1, 2 of those 3 at least touching the ball and having a chance, having a look. So I would say, again, another in a perfect world scenario, those 3 girls are probably shooting 40, 45 shots between them. Typically a team shoots 65 to 70 shots, so you're looking at 60, 65% of our shot total is what I like to see.
So this Boise State team, it seems like they've really just built something special there. I mean, Mountain West champs, obviously, and only 3 losses this season. How do you feel like you guys match up with them, and how do you try and game plan for a team that just doesn't lose very often?
I think we match up really well. I think a key will be our guard defense on their guards. That's where their points come from. A key will be our post girls against their post girls because they don't help out a whole lot. So it's kind of like mano y mano, woman on woman type of thing. So if our post girls can really dig in and be a presence for us in the paint in low, and our guards can defend outside, I think I like our matchup. So we'll see what happens. But the Boise State group, they're a good team, evidenced by the scores. They beat teams they should by a lot, and they compete and usually beat teams that are on their level, and consequently they're 21, 22, and 3. So they're a good team. I see how good a team is by beating the weaker teams by 20 and 30 points. And a third of their schedule they've had, they're scoring in the 90s and winning 90 to 60 type of games. And then against the upper half of our conference, they're winning 70 to 65, 74 to 62, 10 to 12 to 15 point margins. So they're a really good team, and they don't play at the level of their opponents. They play at their level. So we've got to match that today to really play with them for 40 minutes and hopefully have a chance to win at the buzzer.
All right, Coach. As always, I appreciate your time. Good luck this afternoon.
Okay, Jaden. Thank you.
So that's Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner. Again, a lot of good stuff in that conversation. And I thought that, I kind of made the connection in my mind of that New Mexico game being very similar to the Wyoming game, which was just about a week earlier, where the team just kind of ran out of gas at the end. And so it was interesting to hear Coach Finkbeiner make that exact same comparison and to, say that was an issue, and that's something that we are well aware of, that the fourth quarter has not gone the way we've wanted it to the past few games. And, he feels like they can hang with anybody in the league for a little while. The question is, can they play 40 solid minutes of basketball? And we're going to find that out this afternoon. All right, we're going to head to a commercial break, and then we'll come back. We'll have starting lineups and get tip-off for you here in just a moment here on Aggie Radio.
Your neighborhood Smiths is proud to support the local community. That's why with Smith's Inspiring Donations program, customers can link their rewards card to benefit the nonprofit organization of their choice all throughout the area. So every purchase they make supports their favorite nonprofit every time they shop, which helps people right here in Utah. It's an easy way to make a real difference and give back to the community. Because at Smith's, we're not just your neighborhood grocer, we're also your neighbors. Low prices, market fresh at Smith's.
I'm enthusiastic to invite you to listen to Lights Out, where every episode is a new suspense story or horrific thriller. Turn on your surround sound Sunday nights at 11:30 p.m. Aggie Radio Theater.
In 1979, Larry H. Miller opened his first dealership in Utah. Though for years he'd worked in other places, he chose to open here because he loved this state. He valued what Utah's people value: integrity, hard work, and the desire to enrich the lives of others. And today, those values continue to drive us forward in business, in our communities, in life. The Larry H. Miller family of dealerships, driven by a love for Utah, driven by you.
1, 2, 3, ho!
Grizz knows how to get down, and so do I. If you like jazz, blues, funk, and a little bit of spice, tune into Aggie Radio Monday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Listen in and let's keep the good times rolling.
And welcome back to Aggie Radio. Utah State women's basketball getting ready to take on the Mountain West Conference champ Boise State Broncos. A tough one in store for the Aggies this afternoon. Boise State rolling this season, 12-1 in conference play. Thanks for joining us on Aggie Radio for Utah State Women's Hoops, and a special welcome into those of you now joining us on Mountain West Network and Stadium. We've got a fun one in store for you this afternoon. I'm Jaden Johnson here at the D. Glenn Smith Spectrum, where starting lineups are just about to be announced for either side. Let's go ahead and take a look at who the Broncos will be rolling with this afternoon. The big story for Boise State, and it's not necessarily new news, but no Riley Lupfer in the starting lineup. The Mountain West Conference preseason player of the year has missed the past 3 games and will not be out there on the court for the Broncos this afternoon. So the Broncos are going to go with number 14, Brady Hodgins, a junior guard from Pasco, Washington. Number 20, Marta Ermida, the senior guard from Madrid, Spain. Number 23, Jade Christopher, the junior guard from Federal Way, Washington. Number 33, Joyce Harrell, the senior forward from Seattle, Washington. And number 42, Ashanti Coleman, the junior forward from San Francisco, California. So again, Riley Lupfer, the junior guard for Boise State, who has had such a phenomenal career and was the preseason conference player of the year, is not going to play this afternoon. However, you know, the last 3 games where she has been out for Boise State, the Broncos have been just fine, and they've won each of those 3 games, 2 of them pretty decisively. For Utah State, their starting lineup is going to be a pretty familiar one, as it is the starting lineup they've used for the past 3 games. Number 1, Eliza West, the junior guard from Mount Martha, Australia. Number 4, Steph Gorman, the freshman guard from Wodonga, Australia. Number 5, Shannon Duffy, the junior forward from Preston, Australia. Number 12, Haley Bassett, the junior forward from Layton, Utah. And number 22, Rachel Brewster, the senior guard from Melbourne, Australia. So both these teams pretty comfortable with these lineups. Of course, the exception being no Riley Lupfer for Boise State. Lupfer averaging 12 points per game, 3.3 rebounds per game. Both those numbers are a little bit down from last season, but she's gotten a lot of help from other players, and Hodgins has really stepped up in her absence the past few games for the Broncos. Aggies win the tip, and they will have the opportunity for the first points of this game, as it's Haley Bassett getting Utah State the first possession. Right away, here's a jumper from Rachel Brewster. She's been on fire the past couple of games, and she starts out well in this one, putting Utah State on the board first. So Aggies strike on the first trip down the court. Can the Broncos respond with points of their own? It's Ashanti Coleman with it way up top. She'll give it off to Christopher. Christopher down low to Coleman for the lay-in, but she misses. Offensive board, and the putback is blocked. Harrell grabbed the board, went up, had it knocked out of bounds by Haley Bassett. So a couple of opportunities there for the Broncos. Unable to connect on both tries, but they've got the ball under their own basket. It's going to be Armida inbounding it. She goes right away into Hodgins. Fresh shot clock for Boise State. Hodgins will use a screen, pass it back out to Coleman. She starts to drive, gets into the paint, turns around, lefty off the glass, no good. The Aggies grab the rebound, and after giving Boise State 3 opportunities on that trip down the court, the Aggies come back the other way with a 2-0 advantage. The first trip down, they gave it to Rachel Brewster for a turnaround jumper. See what they go with this time. This time a turnover as Shannon Duffsey tries to pass down into the post for Haley Bassett, and it's intercepted. The Aggies have really struggled with those kind of turnovers as of late. A lay-in the other way by Jade Christopher makes it 2 apiece as Boise State gets on the board. Thanks to the junior from Federal Way, Washington. 7 Washington natives on this Boise State squad. Here's a pass to the corner, 3 taken by Gorman. She'll miss, but the rebound is chased by Shannon Duffsey, unable to keep it in bounds. So we'll go back to Boise State. Not a bad look from the freshman out in the corner, Gorman, one of Utah State's stronger three-point shooters. Knotted up at 2 apiece, just about 2 minutes in. Here's a drive and a lay-in. Once again, Jade Christopher. She's got all 4 of Boise State's points, averages 5.6 points per game, and she is well on her way there with just 2 minutes into this game. Liza West brings it across midcourt, gets a double team, escapes out of it by passing it out to Brewster. Utah State with a little breathing room now after a good defensive trap by the Broncos. It's Gorman giving it over to Eliza West on the right wing. 10 on the shot clock now as Duffsey has it up top. Works her way to the left. A whistle blows down low. That's a foul on the Aggies. And see who they got with that. They get Haley Bassett down low. I think it was a 3-second call, so that will go back to Boise State with a 4-2 advantage. Here's a jumper from the right elbow, missed by Coleman. Rebound tipped around for a moment. Looked like Eliza West had it for a second, but then it's going to be back in Boise State's control. She tipped it back to Harrell. So Boise State has already taken 6 shots to Utah State's 2. Now a turnover, though, as that's taken away from Coleman by Haley Bassett in the paint. Liza's going to try and drive and go all the way, however, misses on the lay-in. Harrell with the rebound. So Boise State has taken twice as many shots as the Aggies. Now they try their 7th shot of the game and get it to fall. That's Marta Armida down low. The first Bronco not named Jade Christopher to score. That puts Boise State up 6-2 and takes us to a timeout by Coach Jerry Finkbeiner of Utah State. 7:04 to go. We'll take a timeout with them. Be back in just a moment with the rest of quarter number 1 here at the Spectrum.
You're listening to Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU LP Logan. Discover the alternative. If you like artists like Maddie Love, I like me better when I'm with you. Matoma, or Noah Kahan, tune into the Vibe Tribe every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time with me, Jonesy, showing you new music to live life vibe by vibe. Again, that is every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Mountain Time here on Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU LP Logan. Discover the alternative.
All right, Utah State off to a slow start against Boise State. Just 2 points, 3 minutes in, as the Aggie trail the Broncos 6-2 here in Logan, Utah. Boise State only 1 loss this conference season. That came a few weeks ago against Wyoming. They've been near perfect outside of that, however. 12-1 in conference play, 21-3 this season. A win here would signal their best start through 25 games in program history. A turnover by Utah State. Boise State's going to try and take it all the way. They do. It was Olivia West fumbling away a ball as it was taken away by Hodgins, who then took it down the court, gave it to Christopher for the lay-in. So an 8-2 advantage now for Boise State. Can Rachel Brewster snap that streak? No, she turns around. I think they're going to call a foul, however, on Joyce Harrell. Yep, so Harrell got her on the wrist. 2 shots coming from the free throw line for Rachel Brewster. It's so good to see Brewster back out into a rhythm. As of the past few games, she went for 17 against Air Force. That was a season high, and then broke that season high against New Mexico, scoring 20 back on Wednesday. Her first shot of 2 is good. She's got all 3 of Utah State's points. 1 more coming for Utah State's 4th all-time leading scorer, Rachel Brewster, and she gets that to fall as well. So Utah State now trailing by 4. 6.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Christopher out to the right wing. A long jumper by Coleman is no good. The rebound by Shannon Duffesey. Duffesey currently ranking first in the Mountain West Conference in rebounds per game, over 10 rebounds per game. A pass out to left wing. It's Brewster again. A turnaround jumper from the free throw line. This time no good. So Brewster misses for the first time of this afternoon. The rebound goes to Boise State. Driving is Christopher. She'll stop, kick it out to the corner. Boise State going to take a second to reset. Hodgins dribbles it back, gets a screen from Coleman, dishes it to Coleman off the screen, but it's lost out of bounds. Coleman couldn't handle the pass. And it rolls out off her leg. So Utah State will get the ball down 8-4. Just 4 points, however, for Utah State 4 minutes into this game. They're going to need a lot more production here if they want to hang with a very high-scoring Boise State team. Aggies just 1 of 4 to start out this game. Duffesey gives it out to Brewster. Back to Duffesey. She leads Utah State in scoring. She's going to drive, put up a tough one on the left side, misses, and the rebound goes to Harrell. That's Harrell's 3rd rebound already of the game. Here's a steal, though. Rachel Brewster has an open opportunity, is going to take it coast to coast. After stealing it away, she lays it in on the other end, and Utah State is back within 2. 8-6, the Aggies trail. Brewster with all 6 of Utah State's points, and she is feeling it the last few weeks for the Aggies. Armida uses a screen from Coleman, then dishes to Coleman. That give and go is perfect, but Coleman misses. The offensive board and the putback missed by Harrell. Coleman not having a great start to this game. Typically a very strong player for Boise State. Left wing 3, Rachel Brewster, no good. Rebound, though, by Duffesey will give Utah State another opportunity. She turns around, tries to put it in, and does. 8-8, and Utah State ties it up. The first player not named Rachel Brewster gets on the board for Utah State. Shannon Duffesey finding her first bucket of the game on her 2nd shot. Christopher gives it out to Coleman. A long shot taken. I think that was a 2, but won't fall, so it doesn't matter regardless. And then the rebound is knocked out by Armida. So Utah State will gain control. A couple of subs coming for the Aggies. Looks like Gorman and Bassett going to check out. Deja Mason and sophomore Emmy Harris going to check in. So 4:15 to go in the first quarter. It's 8 apiece. Utah State's defense is playing reasonably well, and the offense is starting to click, it appears. Let's see if they can continue that momentum on this trip down the court. Rachel Brewster just lost the ball off her leg. She caught the ball and then almost dropped it, lost it off her leg, and then the lay-in the other way by Christopher. That was just a mental error by a player that has had a very good start to this game, Rachel Brewster, as Boise State goes back out front, 10-8. That's Utah State's 4th turnover of the game already. They only had 10 against New Mexico that entire game. Here's Brewster from the left corner, and she makes up for the turnover by hitting a 3 and putting Utah State out front for just the 2nd time of this game. Aggies led 2-0. Boise State's been out front since. I think they said that was a 2. My apologies. So they say her foot was on the line, and that was only a 2. It is 10-10 rather than 11-10, so knotted up. Duffesey now picks up a foul, her first. It's the first Utah State foul of this game. Boise State has one of their own. The inbound from the baseline Goes to Hodgins. She'll pass it out to left wing. A three taken and missed. And Utah State with the rebound. That was Amundsen taking the three. She just checked into the game off the bench. Aggies can now break the tie at 10 apiece. Olivia West tries her first shot of the game, misses, but the offensive board by Shannon Duffy. Boy, she is so good at those. Passes it out. Free throw line jumper, Rachel Brewster cannot miss. Brewster with 10 of Utah State's 12. She has matched Boise State's total on her own. Aggies up 12-10. 2:43 to go in this first quarter. Here's a long shot from near the corner, missed by Amundsen. She took one on the last trip down the court for Boise State, takes one again, and Utah State with the rebound. 2.5 minutes to go. Harris tries to pass over to Mason, loses it for a moment. Mason able to gather it in. Brewster down to Duffy. Aggies out top 14-10. Rachel Brewster not just scoring, but passing it well now, too. Shannon Duffy with her 4th point of the game. It's been all about those two for Utah State. Down low, working her way in for Boise State, having it blocked. That was Rachel Bowers. Deja Mason with the block. Aggies coming back the other way. Brewster along, too. Good! Utah State 16-10. 12 points for Rachel Brewster. Hodgins on the right wing. Gives it down low. Here's Bowers. Bowers travels. Utah State gets the ball back, up 16-10 on Boise State's 4th turnover of the game. This time a travel by Bowers. Great start for Utah State, a 14-2 run for the Aggies, an 8-0 run as well, and they've made their last 3 shots while holding Boise State to one of their past 8. Can the Aggies separate themselves even further? It's 16-10, a minute and 40 seconds to go till the end of the first quarter. Marlene Aniabosu has checked in for her first action for Utah State as Rachel Brewster is getting a well-deserved rest. Not a single player on the court, though, for the Aggies that has scored yet. In the right corner, Steph Gorman tries to change that, rattles it around the rim, and Utah State goes up 19-10 as Steph Gorman knocks one down from deep. So she becomes the first Aggie not named Rachel Brewster or Shannon Duffy to get on the board. It's an 11-0 run, a 17-2 run. Bowers goes up, gets fouled, and has an opportunity to snap that streak from the free throw line as the freshman from Newhall, California, will go to the line. Bowers an 82% free throw shooter, averaging 6.5 points per game for Boise State this season. I think they gave that foul on Deja Mason. That's what it, yeah. So it's on Mason. Officials have a quick conversation. And it's 2 shots coming for Bowers. Utah State up 19-10, a minute and 8 seconds to go in the first. The first shot is good from Bowers. One more coming. So Christopher has 8 of Boise State's 10. Bowers misses her second shot, and the rebound by Gorman. Nearing the 1-minute mark here in the first quarter. Emmy Harris takes a step back, gives it out to Aniabosu at the free throw line. She'll drive, goes up strong, gets fouled. Nearly got the shot to fall as well. And we'll go to the free throw line. Tess Amundsen with the foul, the sophomore forward for Boise State. Picks up her first. It's Boise State's 2nd team foul. So Aniabosu on the stripe for her first time of the afternoon. And the first one is good. Aniabosu, a little bit of an unorthodox free throw shot. She steps all the way over to the left side of the stripe, as far left as she can possibly go. So it's more of an elbow shot than a free throw shot. But it seems somewhat effective for her, shooting reasonably well this season. The second shot is waved off. There's a lane violation, they say, on Utah State, and so it didn't fall anyway. Aniabosu goes 1 of 2 and puts Utah State up 20-11. What a defensive effort by Utah State in this first half to hold, or in this first quarter to hold Boise State down. Only for so long, however, Brady Hodgins knocks down a 3. She has been near automatic from there as of late. The last 4 games shooting 49% from 3. Gorman thought about another corner 3 where she hit from last time, pump fakes and passes out. A left wing 3 by Olivia West, gets it to go and 1. Aggies are rolling. Utah State goes up 23-14 with a free throw coming for Olivia West. How about that? The 4-point play Annie Mbosu will check out, as will Emmy Harris and Deja Mason. On the court now for Utah State, it's Olivia West, Shannon Duffy, Haley Bassett, Rachel Brewster, and Steph Gorman. The free throw to complete the 4-point play is good, as Olivia West is now going to check out. Eliza West will check in her stead. With 29 seconds to go, the shot clock is turned off. Boise State trying to slow the bleeding. They trail by 10. Got a three-pointer on their last trip down the court by Hodgins. It's Amundsen with the ball. She'll hand it off to Ermita. Clock winds down to 12. Ermita backing in against Eliza. She gets a screen, uses it from Bowers, dishes it to Bowers off the screen, who will go up and get fouled by Brewster. So 2 shots coming for Rachel Bowers, who was just at the free throw line a moment ago and went 1 of 2 on that trip. So that's Rachel Brewster with the foul, her first of the game. And the shot is good from Bowers, 1 more coming. Second one good as well. So the score now 24-16. Utah State out front, 7 seconds to go. Aggies inbound. Liza flies down the court, goes right then left, crossover, tries to dish it off, does to Shannon Duffy, who will get it off right before the buzzer sounds. Utah State goes back up by 10. They are going to review it. From my angle, though, that sure looked like it was off in time. Better safe than sorry, as they want to take a second look. We'll keep it here until we get the conclusion on that. The scoreboard shows 26-16, signaling that was signaled as a good shot. So they'll take another look. Again, it felt like she got it off in time, in real time. And I'm sure the crowd here would agree with me, but we'll take a look at it. So no signal yet. That shot was Shannon Duffy, which would be her 6th point. They're going to say no good. Okay. So they'll wave that off. The score will go back to 24-16. And Shannon Duffy will go from 6 points back down to 4. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll come back with the second quarter of action here in just a moment here at the Spectrum. After a good first quarter, Utah State leads 24-16.
You're listening to Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU LP Logan. Discover the alternative.
This is Brad Bailey, USU Class of 2001. You are listening to Aggie Radio on 92.3 KBLU-LP Logan, Utah.
Utah State out to a great start against the top team in the Mountain West Conference, the reigning champs, Boise State, as the Aggies put up 24 points in the quarter and lead 24-16. Now, Utah State, the last few games and really through much of this season has been a very good first quarter team. Has done a good job at getting out to good starts, and then later on in the game have run out of gas. So I'm sure that's something Coach Finkbeiner talked to him about in the team huddle after that first quarter. Look, can you keep the foot on the pedal? Can you continue at this pace? And can you defensively continue to do what you've been doing? Right out of the get-go, an inbound is tapped back out by Rachel Brewster. Brewster, the star of the first quarter for the Aggies. She had 12 points on 5 of 7 shooting. Got some help from Duffy and Gorman as well. So Boise State now gets it inbounds. Ermita gives it down to Coleman. Coleman goes up, gets the lay-in, and a foul. So an and one opportunity now for Ashanti Coleman, who's brought the Utah State lead down to 6 points, going to the stripe for a shot. She's a 69% free throw shooter. Coleman started the game 0 of 6, now 1 of 7, but misses the free throw. So not the greatest start for the Boise State junior. However, a big couple of points there on that trip down the court. 6-point game. Utah State's first opportunity of this second quarter now is a turnover as Eliza just not a very good pass down into the post looking for Bassett. The lay-in on the other end by Ermita, and just like that, Utah State's 8-point lead is cut to 4 just 40 seconds into the quarter. Not sure what Eliza was thinking on that last trip down, passing it into the post with 3 Boise State players between her and her intended target. However, Utah State tries to get back up, extend the lead, with a missed 3. Back the other way, Boise State. Ermita misses the offensive board and the putback by Coleman. So a 2-point game. Boise State starts out the second quarter on a 6-0 run. And the Aggies falling apart a little bit. Can they regroup here? Liza gives over to the left wing, finding Brewster, down to Duffesey. Duffesey's going to work the baseline. Has it poked away, able to regroup. And then she'll pass it out. They're going to call a foul on Shannon Duffesey, an offensive foul. So not a good start to the second quarter for Utah State. They've given up a 6-0 run, and Boise State now with the ball back. (24-22), Utah State out front. Hodgins goes right then left, works her way into the post, puts it up on the backside, misses, but the rebound goes back to Coleman. Aggies not able to gather in the rebounds here in the second. Now driving, Ermita goes up, gets fouled. 2 shots coming for the 78% free throw shooter, Marta Ermita. Ermita, a senior out of Madrid, Spain. She was on the All Mountain West team last season. Was voted to the preseason team as well. Her first shot is good. 1-point game. She can tie it up here with the second. Ermita won a FIBA gold medal with Spain, U20 team. Second shot is good as well. So tie ball game, 8-0 run to start out this quarter for Boise State. Remember, it was just a moment ago. It was 24-16 Utah State's way. Now we're knotted up at 24. Aggies break the full court press. They've now got a 3-on-2, and they turn it over again. Aggies had numbers, and Eliza West just throws it right into the arms of Ermita. Ermita then a turnover for Boise State. She'll give it back to the Aggies. She tried to dish it out to the corner, just threw it over the head of the intended target and into the first row. So the Aggies catch a break the other way, but a few just irresponsible turnovers by the Aggies have led to this 8-0 run for Boise State. They would love to snap it. Looking for their first points of this quarter. Duffesey goes up, gets it, snaps the streak, and finally puts Utah State on the board in quarter number 2. Aggies already with 3 turnovers this quarter. Hodgins gives it over to Harrell. Harrell the handoff, and then the shot by Christopher missed. Duffesey with the board. That's Shannon Duffesey's 6th rebound already of the game. She's got 6 points to go along with it. She'll hand it off to Brewster. Brewster, a big first quarter, hasn't done much in the second, however, but here's a lay-in on a dish to Shannon Duffesey. Utah State finding a little bit of rhythm back again. 28-24, they lead. Another foul. This time it's Steph Gorman getting a little piece of Brady Hodgins, who started to drive, got some contact. That's Utah State's 4th team foul, believe it or not, 3 minutes into this quarter. Still 6 minutes and 53 seconds to go here in the second. The Aggies already with 4 team fouls. On the right wing, here's Lavelle. Lavelle checking in for the first time, the phenomenal freshman for Boise State. Pass down to Coleman. Coleman turnaround, puts it up and in. A slow start for Coleman, but she's gotten things going here as of late. Now has 6 points and 3 rebounds for Boise State. Again, the Broncos show press, and again, the Aggies break through it. It's Olivia West handling the ball. She'll give it down to Duffy. Duffy gets the cutter to Rachel Brewster for the lay-in. That is a beautiful pass and a beautiful cut by Brewster to find her 14th point of the game. Duffy with her 3rd assist. She's got 8 points, 6 rebounds, and 3 assists early on in this one. Lavelle comes up the backside, lays it up and in. Lavelle, a ESPN Top 100 recruit. She was number 72 in this most recent recruiting class. I don't know about that. They're going to say that. So Boise State came into the backcourt, put pressure on Utah State again. The Aggies tried to throw the ball across midcourt, and it was tipped out. From this angle, it sure looked like it should be Utah State ball. The official was right there, however, and is going to say it was touched last by Steph Gorman. So another forced turnover by the Broncos. Good defense here in the second quarter by Boise State. That's the 8th turnover by Utah State. Lavelle starts the drive, gives it out to the corner. Here's Christopher. Christopher gets it to the cutter, then gets it back. Gives it out to Coleman, now up top. Good ball movement by the Broncos right now. It's Jade Christopher with 9 on the shot clock. Takes a step back, then drives, turns around, tough jumper, rattles around, no good. Tipped out of bounds by Boise State. And the Aggies will get it back. A good defensive stand there for the Aggies. 5:21 to go here in the second. Utah State up 30-28. Utah State just 6 points so far in this quarter through 4.5 minutes. I think the biggest difference, it seems, so far between the first and second quarter is Boise State's defense really cracking down. In the right corner, here's a 3 take, and Shannon Duffy misses. Lavelle with the rebound. Double dribbles, though. Utah State will get it back. That's a freshman mistake by a true freshman. Very good player for Boise State, but just a mental error there, and Utah State will get it back. 5 minutes to go till halftime. Aggies up on the top team in the Mountain West Conference. Left corner 3, no good by Gorman, and the rebound falls to Harrell. In the left corner, here's a 3. Jade Lavelle gets it to go. So she made a mistake on the last time she had the ball, turned the ball over, and this time knocks down a 3 and puts Boise State back out front. That's a good way to respond. Brewster got it near the corner, takes a step up, pump fakes, and gives it out to Duffy. Duffy gets it to a cutting Olivia West, who will then try and pass it back out. Another turnover by Utah State. The interception by Ermita. Tries to go coast to coast, but misses on the lay-in. Good job by Duffy getting back to make a tough lay-in. And Utah State trails by 1. They bring it back the other way. 4 minutes and 5 seconds to go. Brewster over to Duffy in the corner. Back up to Olivia. Aggies doing a good job not getting into shot clock trouble as they have so often this season. A left corner 3. Olivia West, no good. And the rebound is gathered in by Christopher. Aggies are getting some good looks from 3. Just 2 of 8, however. Now got a foul on the Aggies. I think that's Shannon Duffy. No, I'm sorry, it's Steph Gorman. So that is Utah State's 5th team foul, and with still 3:44 to go, it's going to result in free throws, even though it's on the ground. So 2 free throws coming after this break. Utah State now trails Boise State 31-30. 3:44 to go. We're back in a moment. You're listening to Utah State Women's Hoops on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
You're listening to 92.3 KBLU-LP, Logan, Utah.
Alternative radio for an alternative audience.
This broadcast is brought to you by Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU and Logan Eye Institute. Logan Eye Institute offers advanced laser vision correction and diverse options for refractive surgery. For more information, call 435-787-7200.
You're listening to Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU LP Logan. Discover the alternative.
.3 KBLU LP Logan, Utah.
Keep it locked on Aggie Radio.
Midway through the second quarter here in Logan, and we have got a good game brewing at the Spectrum between the top-ranked Boise State Broncos leading Utah State 31-30. 2 free throws coming for Jade Lavelle as we come out of the media timeout. 3:44 to go till halftime. Utah State got out to a nice little lead, got up by double digits. Boise State resilient, sticking around, and they've battled their way right back in it. Now they lead by 1, make that 2, as the free throw from Lavelle is good. 67% free throw shooter this season. Lavelle, her senior year in high school, averaged 37.1 points per game and 8.8 rebounds. That does not happen often. She makes both on that trip. Utah State now trailing by 3. The Aggies break the press. Olivia West gets an open 3, gets it to go. She ties it up at 33. Aggies starting to figure out this press a little bit. It's caused a couple of turnovers, but they seem to be starting to get a hold of it. Brewster tips the ball up in the air. Boise State able to maintain control. Harrell hands it off to Lavelle. Lavelle starts to drive, works her way in, passes now. Left elbow jumper missed by Harrell, and Brewster rips down the rebound. So knotted up at 33, Utah State looking to take the lead back with 3 minutes to go till halftime. But another foolish turnover. Brewster just tries to pass it out to Mason, and it's intercepted with ease by Boise State. They're going to give it back to Utah State, though, on a turnover by Brady Hodgins. Took an extra step. So the steal there was by Harrell, and then the turnover by Hodgins. So 2 turnovers within a matter of about 10 seconds, one by each side. Utah State brings it back down, 33-33 still. Here's a dish down to Shannon Duffy for the lay-in. Aggies back out front. Utah State has led for 8 minutes, 57 seconds of this game. Boise State 4.5 minutes. There's a missed lay-in. Utah State grabs the board, a hard foul. Not intentionally hard, but Olivia West just got wrapped up by Lavelle and hit the ground. No malicious intent, but it didn't look like it felt very good. Aggies up 35-33, 2:25 to go. So that rebound goes to Olivia West. Her second rebound of the game. Shannon Duffy was 6. She's got 10.6 rebounds. She looks for what would be her 15th double-double of the season. She's going to try a shot from the corner. Airballs it at the right place at the right time for Rachel Brewster, who turns around and puts it in. So the airballed 3 turns into a turnaround jumper for Rachel Brewster, who is absolutely on fire. 7 of 9 from the field. She's got 16 points. Her career high is 22. I'd say she's got a pretty good shot at getting there this afternoon. Gorman playing tight defense, but a baseline lay-in by Hodgins. That's a great job by the junior for Boise State. Hodgins has taken a big part of the load with Lupfer out for Boise State. She's averaging 23 points per game the last 4 games for Boise State. A minute and a half to go. Aggies up by a couple. Mason tries to give it down to Duffy, and this wasn't a bad pass. It was just Duffy unable to hold on to it. Kind of caught it with her fingertips and lost it out of bounds. Utah State, you know, if Utah State could maintain these turnovers a little bit, they've got 11 turnovers in the first half. If that was, you know, at 5 or 6 even, this is probably a whole different ballgame. Utah State out by double digits possibly. Been a big issue. We've got a turnover by Boise State. And, you know, as I say that, Boise State hasn't been exactly great at holding on to the ball themselves. That's their 8th turnover of the game, as Gallerone takes an extra step and gives it back to Utah State. Nearing the 1 minute mark, Aggies up by a couple, 37-35. Olivia West hands it out to Brewster. Brewster to Mason. She'll get a screen from Annie Mbosu. Use it. Gives it down to Olivia West, who cuts, then passes it back out to Mason. 10 on the shot clock. Good ball movement by the Aggies. Olivia has it. She'll give it out to the left wing. Emmy Harris thought about a 3 and instead takes a step up. Shoots, airballs the rebound to Lavelle. Broncos coming back the other way quickly, and another turnover by Boise State. So as frustrating as I'm sure the Utah State coaching staff is with their turnovers, it's been nearly as bad on the other end. Boise State just giving it right back to the Aggies, as that is now their 9th of the game. So Utah State has it with about 10 seconds between the shot and the game clock. Under the 30-second mark, Aggies up 37-35. They would love to head into the locker room with a lead. Some points here could nearly assure that. Harris gives it over to Olivia West, who turns the ball over. She ran into Lavelle and just lost the ball out of bounds. Good job by Lavelle staying put, not moving her feet, and forcing that turnover by Utah State. So now the Broncos, who trail by a couple, have the opportunity for the final shot, and they can control whether they go into halftime trailing or not. 8 seconds to go. Here's Hodgins. Gets a screen, uses it, passes it off to Gallerone. Off of it, it's stolen away by Annie Mbosu. And that is how the first half will go down. Annie Mbosu coming up with a big steal right there at the end, and Utah State heads to the locker room, leading the top team in the Mountain West Conference and the defending champs, Boise State. 37-35. A great start to this game for the Aggies. 56% they shot in the first half. Held Boise State to 42%. And, a lot of positives, I think, that Utah State's going to take into the tunnel. They had 12 assists on 15 made shots. That's a pretty solid margin for Utah State. The big thing that I'm sure that they're going to focus on and look at coming out into the second half is, look, if we're taking care of the ball, if we don't have 12 turnovers, as I was kind of alluding to a moment ago, if we have 5 turnovers instead of 12, if we have 6 or 7 turnovers instead of 12, we're leading by a whole lot more than a couple of points here. And, Boise State is such a solid, such a deep team with so many threats that can hurt you. It's hard to feel very comfortable with any lead against them. And so still a lot of work to do for the Aggies as they head into the second half. Let's take a look at some of the individual leaders before we take a halftime break. For Utah State, it was all about Rachel Brewster. 16 points on 7 of 9 from the field. She also grabbed 3 rebounds, got 3 assists, a block, and a steal. So just all around, very good numbers for Rachel Brewster in the first half. Shannon Duffy, 10 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. Not a bad start for Utah State star junior either. 7 points from Olivia West, who came in and shot 2 of 4 from the field. 3 points for Steph Gorman and 1 for Annie Mbosu. They still haven't even gotten a shot taken by Haley Bassett. And so I'm sure that, that's probably going to be a part of the game plan as well heading into the second half. Bassett played 10 minutes and didn't get a shot off. And she's Utah State's second leading scorer. And in the rebounding category, 6 rebounds for Shannon Duffy, 3 assists apiece for Steph Gorman, Shannon Duffy, and Rachel Brewster. For Boise State, very well spread in the scoring column. 8 points for Christopher, 7 for Lavelle, 6 apiece for Ermita and Coleman, 5 for Hodgins, and 3 for Bowers. 6 rebounds as well for Harrell, who didn't get on the board in the scoring column, but 6 rebounds for her, and then 3 assists for Jade Christopher. All right, we're going to take a timeout. We'll take a little bit of a break, come back with about 4 or 5 minutes to go before the second half. Take a look at some scores from around the Mountain West Conference. Take another look at this first half of action. Dive into the stats just a little bit more and get you ready for the second half. Should be a fun one as we enter halftime, a 2-point game. Utah State out front over Boise State 37-35. You're listening to Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
Want to receive exclusive ticket offers and purchase Aggie tickets directly through text message? Fans can join Reply by texting USTATE to 20123.
You could can show you what you wanna see and take you where you wanna be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. I can lift you up. I can show you what you wanna see and take you where you wanna be. You could be my luck. Even if the sky is falling down, I know that we'll be safe and sound. We're safe and sound. We're safe and sound. We're safe and sound.
You're listening to Aggie Radio, your Cache Valley home for Utah State athletics. To learn more about Aggie Radio or to get involved, visit our website, aggieradio.com. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Aggie Radio for sports, news, and music updates.
Halftime here at the Spectrum. Utah State leading the Mountain West Conference's top team 37-35. Now Boise State has only lost 3 games all season long. Utah State would sure love to be that fourth. These two teams are only meeting up once this season. In that regard, I guess Utah State drew a little bit of a lucky draw, only having to play the defending champs once, as this will be the one and only. They won't have to make a return trip to Boise. Through the first half, I think Utah State pretty happy with what they were able to do. Now, I don't want to say it's unrealistic, but it's tough to ask for Utah State to shoot 56% again in the second half and to keep those offensive numbers up. And so they're going to have to find some ways to make up for that here in the second half and to be able to stay on top of Boise State, because Boise State only shot 42%. Utah State with 12 turnovers. I think that those are probably the biggest points of emphasis at halftime for Coach Finkbeiner is, look, what are you going to do in the second half besides just shooting lights out, because of course that's going to help, but what else are we going to do to make sure that we keep a lead in this game? We've seen several times this season, including the game against New Mexico just a few days ago, where Utah State shot very well in the first half. They shot pretty well in the third quarter and then just fell apart in the fourth. So they're looking to avoid letting that happen again. Let's take a look at some scores from around the Mountain West Conference. There are several several Mountain West women's hoops games going on this afternoon, 3 of which are at halftime, including this one. The other 2 are San Diego State and UNLV. San Diego State up 26-25 at the half. That's in San Diego. Utah State's next opponent, of course, is San Diego State, and so that's an interesting score. UNLV, kind of an up-and-down team. They're a tough one to read this season. They trail by 1 at halftime. And then out in Laramie, Wyoming leads Colorado State 25-20. Both of those very low-scoring games. Tipping off here in the next 5 minutes or so, Fresno State is hosting Nevada. San Jose State is hosting Air Force. So we'll certainly keep an eye on those as this game progresses. We'll take a look at them again after the game and see where they're at. But we're really coming into the home stretch of Mountain West Conference play. I mean, Utah State only has 3 more games after this, as crazy as that may seem, as they'll go on the road for a couple next week and then come back for Senior Day, and then that's it for the Aggies. Most teams still with 4. Utah State does have that final week bye, and so a little bit of an advantage for them, I guess, heading into conference tournament. But, yeah, we're really coming down to it, and so it's going to be fun to start watching the standings and seeing where teams are looking to be seated. I know Coach Finkbeiner felt strongly that if his team wants to get a top 5 seed and therefore a first-round bye, it's imperative that they win at least one of these 2 games this week. They already lost against New Mexico, leaving this game being that much more important. If they win this one, he still feels that there's a decent shot that they can get into that 4 spot, or into that 5 spot, I should say. Let's take a look at the men's game. Utah State men are up in Boise, taking on the Broncos, where the Aggies knocked Boise State out of the tournament last season. Boise State's looking for a little bit of revenge. That at halftime is Utah State 37, Boise State 30. So both Utah State men's and women's teams scored exactly 37 points in the first half. And we'll keep you updated with that one as well. And see what happens with the Utah State men's team, who continues to roll. 10 of their last 11 games have resulted in wins. All right, we're just about to get back underway. Second half about to get started. Rachel Brewster with 16 points and 3 rebounds, 3 assists, a block and a steal in the first half. Can she keep that up? If she can, I think Utah State's in pretty good hands. So it'll be Utah State starting with the ball in the second half. They'll have a midcourt inbound to get the clock ticking and a 2-point advantage. We're underway. Eliza West, Utah State's point guard, gives it out to Rachel Brewster on the right wing. She'll pass to Duffy. Duffy starts to drive, then dishes it back out. She travels, though, and that's another turnover for Utah State. So something that, we mentioned as a certain point of emphasis is what cost Utah State the ball here in the beginning of the second half as they pick up their 13th turnover of the game. Boise State with their first trip down the court of this half, and they turn it over as well. So that was a steal by Utah State. Hodgins tried to pass out of the post and just had it taken away by Haley Bassett. Haley Bassett, though, comes down the other way, tries to go up for the lay-in. That's her first shot attempt of the game, and it won't actually go down as a shot attempt as she was fouled and is going to go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. So she didn't take a shot in the first half, is now going to the line for 2 free throws. Bassett, a 68% free throw shooter on the season, and she misses the first. So one more coming. No good on the second either. The rebound is battled around for a moment. A valiant effort by Shannon Duffesy, but she does eventually tip it back to Coleman. And an 0 for 2 trip keeps us knotted up still at 37-35. Aggies out front. Here's a backdoor lay-in by Boise State to tie it up. That was Brady Hodgins with a quick catch and a shoot behind her head. And it's 37 apiece. Brady Hodgins now with 7 in this game. She's 3 of 4 from the field. Brewster gives it to Eliza West, who drives the baseline, hands it off to Duffesy down low for the lay-in. And believe it or not, that's actually Eliza West's first assist of the game. She's averaging this season about 5 per game. Good enough for 3rd in the Mountain West Conference. Here's a turnaround jumper the other way, missed by Harrell. And the rebound tipped out of bounds. Utah State will get it back. They lead 39-27. Fantastic job the last trip down the court by Eliza West to work the baseline, then just hand it off for the easy lay-in by Shannon Duffesy. Duffesy now has 12 points, 6 rebounds. Eliza over to the right wing. Here's a 3 taken short by Gorman, but the rebound is lost off of the leg of, I think that was Joyce Harrell. Yeah, it was Harrell down low, so Utah State's going to get it back. Seemed to be an easy rebound and then just a lack of coordination there. Lost it out of bounds. Inbound goes straight away to Shannon Duffesy, who lays it up and in. That's a great communication between a couple of players who have played a lot of games together, Shannon Duffesy and Rachel Brewster. At the 8-minute mark here in the third quarter, Aggies up by 4, but a cut and a pass down to Coleman cuts that lead down to 2, 41-39. Coleman, after a really rough start, is now 8 points, 4 of 10 from the field. She missed her first 6 and has made her 4 following that. Eliza gets some really tight defense by Christopher. They call a foul on Shannon Duffesy. That's interesting. I mean, Christopher was all over Eliza West, who had her feet planted, but they're going to call an off-ball foul on Duffesy. So Utah State with their first team foul of this third quarter. They got into a bit of trouble early on in the second quarter with fouls. Managed it pretty well from there on out after they picked up 4 in the first 3 minutes. But something to watch for here in the third. Christopher has it out on the right wing. She's guarded by Eliza West. She'll start to drive, stop, pivot, turn around, dump it down to Coleman for the lay-in. That's a great move by Jade Christopher to create that opportunity for Boise State, and we're knotted back up at 41 apiece. Neither team able to get separation in this one. Gorman breaks out of a tough situation, but then dishes it down and has it stolen away by Armida, who goes coast to coast and puts Boise State back out front. So another foolish pass by Utah State results in another turnover. Utah State's 15th turnover of the game. Again, the team only had 10 turnovers the entire game against New Mexico, and make that number 16 as Haley Bassett just gives it right away to Christopher, and then lay-in missed the other way, but the offensive board and the putback is missed as well. Third opportunity is good by Coleman. That's a frustrating series for Utah State after they give up a bad turnover, give up 2 offensive boards and some points the other way, and now trail by 4. It's 45-41. Coach Finkbeiner feeling the frustration as well. He calls a timeout. We'll take the timeout with them. 6:24 to go, and Utah State is on a 6-0 scoring skid to Boise State. We'll be back in a moment. You're listening to Utah State Women's Hoops here on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
This is Poppy, and you're listening to KBLU 92.3 in Logan, Utah.
Aggie Basketball is brought to you by 92.3 KBLU in Macy's, located at 49 East 400 North in Logan and 50 Utah 165 in Providence. Macy's offers a variety of food and drinks for game days, as well as watch parties. Macy's. Happy shopping.
What's up, everybody? This is Jonesy Boy. I have a brand new show here in Logan called The Jones Zone. I will be bringing you the latest and the greatest in EDM and dance music. It will be every single Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, so be sure to listen in.
Utah State gives up a 8-0 run to Boise State, and Coach Finkbeiner wants a timeout. Utah State now trailing 45-41. What was a Utah State 4-point lead very quickly turned into a 4-point deficit. So he calls in his squad to regroup, see if they can get their footing beneath them. However, the third quarter hasn't been remarkably friendly to Utah State to this point. So far, Utah State with 4 turnovers. They've only taken 3 shots, nearly 3.5 minutes into this. So the inbound goes to Steph Gorman, who'll give it up to Duffy. Utah State with the ball out of the timeout. Lies over to Gorman on the right wing. 10 on the shot clock as Mason passes it out to Brewster. Brewster's going to try and drive. Stops, shoots, 15-footer, no good. Rebound batted back out, but into the arms of Christopher. She'll pass it out, left wing 3. That would be big, but it's missed by Hodgins. The rebound and the putback missed. And then Utah State finally grabs the rebound. A lot of offensive boards for Boise State here in this second half. The Broncos with 9 offensive boards in the game to Utah State's 4. However, total rebounds were knotted up at 20 apiece. Here's a 3 by Shannon Duffy, missed. And an offensive board, as I say that, by Rachel Brewster, who turns around and gets it to go from 15. 18 points for the Utah State senior. Aggies go up 45-43. I'm sorry, trail 45-43, I should say. Armida gives it to the right wing to Christopher. Christopher down to Hodgins. She'll pass it to Coleman. Coleman absolutely on fire as of late. She's now got now has 14 points, has made her last 7 shots for the Broncos. 4-point lead once again for Boise State, and a pass from Eliza is tipped down low. Mason able to gather it in, then she'll catch Eliza on the cutter. She tries to pass out to Gorman. Gorman barely gathers it in. A tough shot as she falls forward. 12 feet out, gets it to fall. Utah State with a couple of very near turnovers, but they're able to salvage some points out of that possession and bring it to a 2-point game. And that's a big one for Utah State. A right wing 3 taken and missed by Christopher. Rebound by Shannon Duffy, who goes to the ground with it. Gives it to Eliza out of there. Screen set in the backcourt by Gorman. Eliza 1-on-3. She'll pass it out. Long jumper missed by Brewster. And the rebound to Coleman. Coach Finkbeiner had him push it quickly. Even with the number disadvantage, they got a pretty good look out of the long jumper from Brewster. But unable to connect. Nearing the 4-minute mark here in the third quarter. Armida gives it out right wide open in the corner is Christopher, but she misses the 3. The rebound to Gorman. Christopher just 26% from 3 this season. In transition, will Utah State push it again this time? Brewster does so, goes up, gets fouled. Misses the shot, but is going to the free throw line for a couple of shots. That foul goes against Brady Hodgins. So that is Hodgins' first foul. That's Boise State's second. That brings us to our media timeout, 3:48 to go. We'll keep it here for this one. Boise State leading 47-45, but it's Rachel Brewster going to the free throw line for a couple of shots, which could tie it up. Brewster, the last few games, has really just come alive. She was averaging just 7.3 points per game a few games ago. Well, since that point, against Air Force, she went for 17 points. Against New Mexico, went for 20. And now in this one, she's already got 18. Looking for a new season high. If she hits both these free throws, she'll knot up her season high. Her career high is 22, which is very much within reach, with still about a quarter and a half to go. We're at the 3:48 mark here in the third quarter. Shanti Coleman, you know, I was a little bit harsh on her in the first half. She started out 0 for 6, had a few turnovers, and really just couldn't get anything going for Boise State. But since, she has been very, very good. Leads all Bronco scorers now with 14 points, 6 rebounds. And that's what, you know, a seasoned junior will do for you. It's a junior who has been around your program for now a couple of years, started out at Arizona, and is now one of the vets on this team. And she's done a good job getting Boise State not only back into this thing, but leading this thing. Both these teams have made 19 shots, though Utah State shooting 54%, while Boise State 43%. The biggest difference here is that Boise State has scored 16 points off of turnovers to Utah State's 9. So they're taking advantage of Utah State's 16 turnovers. We're coming back out. It will be Utah State ball with free throws coming for Rachel Brewster as the Aggies trail 47-45. How about this Boise State team and the program they have built just up the road? Coach Gordy Presnell in his 14th year, he's now coached this team to win the Mountain West Conference Tournament 3 of the past 4 years. Probably in a pretty good shape to make another run this year. Rachel Brewster's first shot is good. 1-point game. She's got one more coming. Second one off the front of the rim. So she's got 19 points. Utah State trails by 1. As she goes 1 of 2 on that trip. Hodgins gets some room, then pushes off. That's an offensive foul. She knocks Olivia West down to the ground. Olivia is such a smart player in that regard, a very, very good at knowing when to plant her feet, knowing when to draw the charge, and she does there. So the Aggies will get it back, trailing by 1. They can take the lead back with some points on this trip down the court. Utah State has led for 14 minutes of this game. Boise State for just about 8. Brewster, long 2. Both feet on the line. She'll miss from the left wing. The rebound is ripped down by Armida. Now pushing very quickly. A kick out to the left wing for Armida. She'll try and get into the post. Has it tipped away. I think that was Annie Mbosu getting a hand on it. Utah State with a 2-on-1. Annie Mbosu stops, pump fakes, goes up, lays it in. Brewster with the assist. Annie Mbosu with her first field goal of the game, I should say. She had a free throw earlier on. She's now got 3 points and 3 minutes on the court. The junior college transfer making an impact in this one. Utah State is back out front. We've now got a turnover as Christopher tried to get it down into the post and just threw it well over the head of Boise State's Rachel Bowers. So Utah State with the 1-point lead, 2 minutes and 45 seconds to go in the third quarter. Annie Mbosu has it on the right elbow. She'll try and back in, goes up strong, but that's an offensive foul. She just kind of put her shoulder into Bowers, and that's a heads-up play. I'm sorry, that was Amundsen. My apologies. A heads-up play by Amundsen, the sophomore, to do exactly what Utah State just did on the other end, planting her feet, drawing the foul. That goes down as Utah State's 17th turnover of the game. Boise State with 14 of their own. Make that 15 as the Broncos now pick up another foul, their 4th team foul of the quarter. As Annie Mbosu hits the ground hard, the foul goes against Bowers. Annie Mbosu is trying to break through a screen, caught a little bit of a shoulder. And so Boise State now 1 away from being in the bonus. Utah State with just 2 team fouls in this third quarter. Annie Mbosu at the free throw line. Hands it off to Brewster. Brewster, an elbow jumper, was good, but they're going to get Annie Mbosu with the illegal screen. And that's a little deflating for Utah State because they just saw the shot go in. Would have put them up by 3, but that's a foul and a turnover for Utah State because of the illegal pick. So the 2 minutes to go till the end of the third quarter. Christopher works her way in, then takes a step back. A 3 taken. Armida up top for 3. Puts Boise State up by a couple. Armida now with 11 points. Boise State just 3 of 9 from 3. They're not used to taking that few 3-pointers in a game. But Utah State's perimeter defense has been quite good. Now Mason drives, puts it up, lays it in, gets it to go, and 1. Deja Mason giving Utah State an offensive spark with her first bucket of the game. she'll have a free throw on the way to put Utah State back out front. Mason, one of the 2 seniors on this team, along with Rachel Brewster, Utah State's all-time blocks leader, one of the better defenders in program history. Her free throw is no good. The rebound is tipped back to her, though. That was a senior tipping it back to the other senior. Brewster back to Mason, and Utah State will have another opportunity, tied up at 50 apiece, a minute and a half to go in the third quarter. Liza near the corner now, takes a step up on the baseline, picks up her dribble, gives it down to Mason again. Mason a turnaround, goes up with the left hand and gets it to fall. Aggies out front by a couple. Deja Mason with 4 straight points for the Aggies. Hadn't taken a shot before these last 2 and has given Utah State a 2-point lead. A pass down towards the post is tipped out by Shannon Duffusy. Now Deja Mason going to check out. She gets a nice little round of applause from the audience. Haley Bassett will check back in, a minute and 5 seconds to go. 19 on the shot clock once the Broncos inbound from the baseline. Inbound goes straight away to Amundsen, out on the left wing. She'll hand it off over to Christopher. Now 13 on the shot clock. Boise State hasn't let the clock run down very often in this game. Here's a steal. Rachel Brewster, another one as she tips it away. Out to Duffusy. Olivia tries to go all the way, gets fouled, and is going to the free throw line. That foul on Lavelle. Aggies are playing very, very good basketball right now. They lead 52-50, and 2 free throws coming for Olivia West, one of the better free throw shooters on this team. 75% from the stripe this season. Misses the first. Utah State now just 5 of 10 from the free throw line. You want to frustrate a coach. The second shot, no good either, and it gets waved off regardless, a lane violation. So you want to frustrate a coach, go 5 of 11 from the free throw line and 18 turnovers against the #1 team in the conference. So they still lead by a couple. So now down to 40 seconds left in the quarter. On the left wing, Ermita has it. She'll give it out to Lavelle, then over to the right wing, finding Christopher. 2-for-1 opportunity is now gone as the shot clock winds down to 10. Ermita stops at the free throw line, puts up a shot, misses. Olivia West with the rebound. Shot clock is turned off. Utah State has it with 20 seconds to go and a 2-point advantage as we near the fourth quarter. Liza stepped way back to the logo. She's going to let this thing run down just a little bit. 8 seconds to go. She gets a screen from Duffusy, passes out to Duffusy on the right wing. She's going to drive, pass out. Olivia West, right wing for 3 air balls, and the rebound is grabbed down low, and that is how the third quarter will come to an end. Utah State, a valiant effort in the third quarter, and they've been able to hold on to a 2-point lead as both teams score 15 points in quarter number 3. We're going to take a break, come back with quarter number 4. Should be a fun finish here at the Spectrum. Utah State leading the top-ranked Boise State Broncos 52-50. You're listening to Aggie Women's Basketball here on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield IMG College.
1, 2, 3, ho!
Grizz knows how to get down, and so do I. If you like jazz, blues, funk, and a little bit of spice, tune into Aggie Radio Monday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Listen in and let's keep the good times rolling.
USU Athletics and all USU athletic programs are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Their accounts will have the up-to-date information and behind-the-scenes look into Utah State athletics.
You're listening to Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU LP Logan. Discover the alternative.
Three quarters in the books, 1 left to go as Utah State is up on the Mountain West top team, Boise State 52-50. Heading into the fourth, I am Jaden Johnson here at the Spectrum. enjoying a fun one from courtside. Boise State with possession of the ball as we enter the fourth quarter. Should be a good finish. Driving is Lavelle. She puts it up, misses the first shot of the quarter. The rebound is brought down by Christopher, who's then fouled by Rachel Brewster. So the Aggies just 13 seconds into the quarter pick up their first team foul as Brewster has her third. Baseline inbound with a fresh shot clock coming for the Broncos. They use about half a second off of it, and one for Brady Hodgins. Got it to fall, picked up the foul by Olivia West, and is now going to the stripe with an opportunity to take the lead. So 14 seconds into the quarter, Boise State's already had 2 shot opportunities. Utah State has already had 2 fouls. Not a great start to the quarter for Utah State as those fouls add up quickly. So the Aggies now trailing by 1. Liza West brings it down the court. She gets trapped, passes it out to Bassett over to the right wing for Olivia West. She's got a screen from Duffy. She'll use it. Gives it out to the left side. Brewster, 9 on the shot clock. She'll use a screen. Gets her up to the free throw line. Goes up, works her way around, and gets the foul. That's Tess Amundsen, the sophomore, picking up her second for Boise State. So the Aggies pick up 2 very quick fouls. Boise State picks up 1. The shot clock still shows 4, which if that was a foul, I think there's a question whether that was a foul or a kick. It was a foul, so they reset the shot clock to 15, as they should, as Utah State will now inbound from the baseline. The clock got all the way down to 4, so those extra 11 seconds are huge for Utah State. Duffy over to the right wing to Brewster. 7 on the shot clock. She'll launch from the elbow, misses, hits the floor after. Rebound is tipped out by Boise State, however. There were 2 Broncos fighting for it as Hodgins and Coleman were both going for the rebound. Neither of them could control it, and Utah State will now get it from the baseline again, this time with a fresh shot clock. Brewster goes into Duffy. Duffy works her way up, draws the foul, and that's Boise State's second team foul. So we are 55 seconds into this quarter, and both teams already have 2 fouls. Shannon Duffy will go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. So a big part of this fourth quarter could be which team manages those fouls better and can keep themselves out of trouble in that regard. The first free throw is good from Shannon Duffy. Ties it up at 53. And she'll have 1 more coming. Second one is good. Duffy currently leading the conference in rebounds per game, 4th in points per game. And this afternoon, she's got 16 points, 7 rebounds, and is having a very good defensive night as well for Utah State. Here's Christopher giving that to the free throw line. Going down to the ground as Coleman just lost her footing and turns it over. Boise State's 17th turnover of the game. Liza's going to try and work the baseline, passes it out to the right wing for Olivia West, open for 3, launches and gets it to go. Utah State up by 4, 57-53. With 8.5 minutes to go. How big is that by Olivia West? A near turnover as a pass was out to Hodge, and she lost it off her foot just about into the backcourt, but gathers it in before it rolls into the backcourt. And then an offensive foul. No, a defensive foul. Okay, Hodgins just plowed into Olivia West with her arm extended, and they're going to call Olivia with the foul. So that's Utah State's third of this quarter with still 8:09 to go. That's costly. The Aggie bench is furious, and I think they have reason to be as they point up to the scoreboard and say, hey, take another look at that, because that was an extended elbow. So the inbound now goes to Hodgins. She'll cross over, go up the left side, drives to the basket, gets fouled. Utah State with a 4th team foul now. Less than 2 minutes into the quarter. This time it's Haley Bassett, and that was on the shot, so it'd be free throws coming for Brady Hodgins. And the first is good. So 1 more coming for the junior from Pasco, Washington. She was on the Mountain West All-Tournament team last season. She goes 2 for 2 on that trip. She's been the Mountain West Conference Player of the Year 2 times already this season, and she brings Boise State back within a couple of points. 57-55. Utah State with the lead, but with 4 fouls, and that's an important number. Olivia spins around, works her way into the post, passes it out. Nice pass out to Bassett, who can't connect from 17 feet on the baseline. And the rebound eventually to Lavelle. Lavelle passes it out to left wing. Boise State going to take it way back near midcourt. Hodgins tries to set up a play, gets a screen, passes over to left wing for Coleman. Coleman spins around, a tough move up, misses on the lay-in. And the Aggies with the board. Utah State leading 57-55. Brewster on the right wing. She's been held intact a little bit more this second half. She'll pass it out, and a missed shot from Haley Bassett, who is still yet to get on the board in this game. She's having a very tough game. 0 of 2 from the field, went 0 of 2 from the free throw line as well. .6:45 to go. Here's a jumper missed by Armida. I think that was a block, possibly by Olivia West. Seemed to have gotten a hand on it. So Utah State with the 2-point advantage. Playing tight defense here in this fourth quarter. Boise State hasn't been allowed a field goal for almost 3.5 minutes. Brewster stops at the baseline, gets trapped, and turns it over. They're going to say she drug her pivot foot for Utah State's 19th turnover of the game. So 6:24 to go in this fourth quarter. Both teams have scored 5 points in this quarter. Just not very pretty basketball in the fourth so far. Utah State and Boise State both 1 of 4 shooting the ball in this final period. Brewster guarding Christopher. Christopher will give it out to the right corner for Harold and get it back. Back over the right corner this time, though, to Hodgins, who launches from deep and gets the 3 to fall and puts Boise State back out front, 58-57. Boise State 4 of 10 from 3. They're used to shooting a whole lot more. They're used to making 8.3 per game. Just 4 so far in this one. Liza gets up to the baseline, passes it out. Tough shot by Shannon Duff as he goes. She's starting to help out big time. She's now got 18 points, 8 of 13. Between she and Brewster, a grand total of 37 points. Hodgins to the baseline, spins around, got the defender to bite, and creates an easy lay-in to put Boise State back out front. Back and forth we go. 5:20 to go in this game. How big would a win over the Mountain West top team be for a Utah State team trying to build some confidence before the Mountain West Conference tournament and trying to earn that first round bye in a top 5 seed? Duffy gives it down to Mason. Mason loses it. A couple players go to the ground, but Eliza West then grabs it, gathers it in, and then loses it. Just all kinds of scrambling there by both sides. Eventually Boise State comes away, and a left wing 3 is missed by Armida. Duffy rips down the rebound. And Utah State will bring it down the court. Trailing by 1. We're under 5 minutes to go. That rebound by Shannon Duffy, number 8 of the game. She's got 18 points, 8 rebounds as she searches for her 15th double-double of the season. Goes up, gets fouled. 2 shots coming from the stripe for the Utah State junior Shannon Duffy. That'll bring us to our media timeout. 4 minutes and 33 seconds to go. And we're in for a good finish here at the Spectrum. Utah State trails 60-59. 2 free throws coming when we get back here on the Aggie Sports Network from Learfield.
This program is brought to you in part by Intermountain Logan Regional Hospital Orthopedic and Sports Medicine, featuring individually focused rehabilitation programs, sports performance training for all ages, and orthopedic surgery options. Logan Regional's orthopedic and sports medicine specialists are the official medical providers for Utah State University Athletics, featuring team physicians, team orthopedists, and physical therapists. Learn more at loganregional.org.
Hey, this is Jerry Joseph, You're listening to 92.3 FM, KBLU LP, Logan, Utah. Alternative radio for an alternative audience. Love you, Logan.
I remember you laid out on the table with nothing but the beating of your heart.
Midway through the fourth quarter here in Logan, Utah State trailing, the Mountain West leading Boise State Broncos 60-59, 4 minutes and 33 seconds to play as we come down to the wire. As promised, here's a look at scores around the Mountain West Conference. San Diego State and UNLV tied up at 44 apiece midway through the fourth in San Diego. Wyoming leading Colorado State 51-27. That was close at halftime, not any longer, about 4.5 minutes to go in that game. Nevada whooping up on Fresno State at the end of the first quarter, 22-6 in Fresno. How about that score? And San Jose State leading Air Force 20-14 after a quarter. We'll keep an eye on those as this game progresses. 2 free throws coming in the meantime for Shannon Duffy, who connects on the first and can take the lead with a second shot. Also on the men's side of things, Utah State men leading Boise State 57-48, 6.5 minutes to go in that. Duffy goes for 2 for 2 on that trip. Utah State out to a 61-60 advantage. 4.5 minutes to go. Duffy now with 20 points, 8 rebounds in this game. A near answer on a lay-in by Harrell, but she misses on the lay-in. Utah State with the board. Aggies lead by 1. Make that 4. Steph Gorman from the corner puts Utah State up 64-60 on a big-time 3. She's coming in clutch when it matters. 8 points now for the freshman. Boise State trying to answer with a 3 of their own. It's missed by Hodgins, and then the rebound lost out of bounds by Warner. Utah State will get it back. How big would it be for the Aggies to be able to extend on this 4-point lead now? We've been, it seems like probably 95% of this game has been spent within a 4-point lead on either side. If Utah State can put a little cushion here, I think it would be enormous for the Aggies. Liza West scanning her options. She's picked up her dribble, eventually gets it out to Gorman. A good job to not drag that pivot foot. Gorman gives it back to Eliza. Good defense by Boise State on this trip down the court. 8 on the shot clock. Utah State needs to hurry. Eliza, how about that crossover? Then she'll try and kick it out to the corner. Gets fouled on her way towards the hoop. That's going to be Boise State's Joyce Harrell with the foul, and it'll give Utah State a fresh shot clock with the ball under the hoop. Checking in for Boise State, Jade Christopher. Checking out is Ellie Warner. So Christopher, the Kansas transfer, having a pretty good game. 8 points, 7 assists. Checks back in for the Broncos. Utah State with 3.5 minutes to go. And again, a fresh shot clock. Gorman gives it off to Brewster. Over to left wing for Shannon Duffy. Duffy back to Brewster. Up to Eliza West. I don't think Utah State's purposely trying to use clock at this point, but Boise State is playing some very good defense. Duffy backing down into the post. Turns around, goes up and under, gets it to go. Tough shot against Joyce Harrell. And Utah State goes up by 6. 3 minutes to go. Every possession so important at this point. Aggies need a few more defensive stops to feel any sort of comfort. Hodgins drives, gets fouled. Free throws coming for the Boise State junior. She'll go to the stripe to try and make this a 4-point game. Hodgins, a 77% free throw shooter this season. She has been one of the huge, the key parts in Boise State replacing Riley Lupfer. I mean, you can't really replace an All-Mountain West player who was picked preseason player of the year. But with her out, Brady Hodgins has done a very good job stepping up. And she goes 1 for 2 on that trip, made the first end, misses on the second. And Shannon Duffy, the rebound after the missed free throw. I believe that was number 10. That's number 10 for Shannon Duffy. She's now got 15 double-doubles this season. 22 points, 10 rebounds in this game. Aggies have it with a 5-point lead, 2.5 minutes to go. Duffy nearly loses it and then does. How about that defense by Brady Hodgins? She comes in tips it away. Then Shannon tries to tip it over to Eliza West, but Eliza can't quite get there in time as it goes out of bounds. So with 2.5 minutes, Utah State picks up their 21st turnover of the game, and Boise State can close up this 5-point gap a little bit on this trip. Hodgins gets some room, takes a three, misses. Duffesey with the board, passes out to Brewster. Utah State in transition. Gorman left wing three, good! Utah State leads 69-61. And how about that from the freshman? Utah State is loving it. The bench exploded, and the arena is going nuts. Utah State up with an 8-point lead on the Mountain West Conference's top team with 2 minutes and 2 seconds to go. This thing's still far from over, and if you know Boise State, you know that they're very capable of getting some points and getting them quickly. But how about that shot by Steph Gorman? She's got 11 points in this game, 3 of 6 from the three-point line, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. And you know, her season has been a little bit up and down. She's had games where she's been near automatic. She's had games where she's really struggled, as you would expect from a freshman. But one thing's for sure, she's got the clutch gene, and that's something Utah State has been in dire need of. So Boise State ball, the score 69-61, 2 minutes and 2 seconds to go. Every stop would be huge for Utah State. Boise State now needing to hurry a little bit more than usual. They're typically a pretty fast-paced team, so it shouldn't be an issue for them. Armida gives it down, then gets it back out on the left wing. Tries a three, misses. Deja Mason tips the rebound back. It goes to Armida, and then she loses it to Rachel Brewster. Brewster, though, then has it stolen away. Coleman swoops in and earns it back for Boise State. So a near defensive rebound. I guess it is a defensive rebound, but then a turnover. And now we've got a foul. I don't know if that's a foul. I think they're signaling the clock is having a malfunction. So Hodgins launched a deep two. Gorman was guarding her. The shot was missed. I'm not entirely sure what the conversation on the court is right now, but the teams are going to huddle up. So they're saying there's a foul on Steph Gorman. Maybe they're looking to see if it's a 2 or a 3. That makes sense. So the shot was missed. Gorman will have a foul regardless, and there will be free throws coming from Brady Hodgins. The question is whether it's 2 free throws or 3 free throws. It's hard to say. I thought I saw a foot in front of the line. We'll see what the replay shows, however. As it stands, Utah State leads 69-61, a minute and 37 seconds to go. They say it was a 3. Okay, so that'll be 3 free throws coming from Brady Hodgins, who's a pretty good free throw shooter, 77% this season. She's gone 4 of 5 from the stripe this afternoon, and she leads Boise State in scoring with 18 points. You know, I mentioned this earlier, but the last 4 games, she's had 23 points per game and 49% from the three-point line. That's without Riley Lupfer in the lineup, and so she's really just stepped up and taken a big load these last few games. Her first free throw is good. 2 more coming. Hodgins, one of 7 Washington natives on this Boise State team. Surprisingly, not a single Idaho native playing for Boise State. Her second free throw good as well, making it 69-63. So a 6-point game, a minute 37 to go. And how big is that? She goes 3 for 3, makes it a 5-point game, 69-64. Gorman just got fouled in the backcourt. They don't call it, and she passes it out to the corner to Brewster, who then gets fouled by Armida. I think Boise State's trying to foul. They did foul Gorman in the backcourt. It was missed by the officials, and now they foul in the front court, as that is their 4th. So they had 1 to give, and they were probably trying to get to this point. Now a minute 28 to go. That resets the shot clock for Utah State, which is big with just a minute and a half, because Utah State can now wind the clock down even more. Boise State's going to start fouling early. So that's free throws coming for Eliza West as Jade Christopher comes into the backcourt. It seems a little unorthodox to be fouling with still a minute and a half to go on a 5-point disadvantage. I guess they knew that, you know, maybe Eliza West is not one of the stronger free throw shooters on this team, and they saw her get the ball and said, hey, why not? So we'll see if the strategy pays off, as Utah State junior Eliza West is on the stripe, gets the first to fall. Sat on the rim for about 2 seconds before deciding to go on that side. Find the bottom of the net. Utah State goes up 70-64. How about that? Eliza West. She shoots 39% this season, then goes 2 for 2 in a very clutch moment to put Utah State up 71-64. Boise State hurrying. Armida kicks down to the corner. Christopher pump fakes, works the baseline, goes up, has it blocked by Shannon Duffy. Rebound kept inside by Eliza West. Brewster has it, gets fouled, and Utah State is getting one step closer to knocking off the champs. 71-64 they lead. 2 free throws coming for Rachel Brewster. Brewster with 19 points already. She's gone 3 of 4 from the stripe. And she's a 75% free throw shooter. First one is good. 72-64, an 8-point lead for Utah State with 1:10 to go. One more coming. And Brewster's second hits the front of the rim. Falls to Hodgins. Utah State didn't even have a player up on the line to try and grab the rebound. Hodgins tries to go coast to coast, goes up, gets the shot to fall, and that closes it to a 6-point lead. Timeout taken with 1:04 to go. Keep it here for this one as well. 72-66. Again, the score, that lay-in by Hodgins. Her 23rd point of the game. She's gone 7 of 11 from the field. How special has she been in this game? You know, for Utah State, a team that's currently, 6-8 in Mountain West Conference play, a little bit below 500 in both conference play and on the season, to get a win of this magnitude, if they're able to hold on with 1:04 to go and a 6-point advantage, if they're able to hold on, how enormous would it be for this program to get that momentum with just 3 games after this before the conference tournament starts? You know, we've seen a lot of teams make deep runs in the conference tournament after mediocre seasons, such as Nevada last season. Aggies would love to do that this year. The inbound goes to Gorman. She's then fouled. Foul will go on Boise State's Hodgins. Her 3rd foul, and that's free throws coming for Steph Gorman. Gorman, a pretty solid free throw shooter for the Aggies this season. 85% from the free throw line. So with a 6-point lead and 1:03 to go, she can extend this, and does on the front end. Makes it a 7-point advantage. Second one, good from the freshman. She's come in, hit a couple of huge 3-pointers in the stretch, hits 2 big free throws there. Utah State with an 8-point lead. A quick answer as Jade Christopher is unimpeded on her way to the basket. Not a single Aggie player in her way. She lays it up to easily close this gap back down to 6. Now 57.6 seconds to go. We will take a quick timeout with this one. Come back, under a minute to go, 6-point lead for the Aggies. Back in a moment.
You're listening to Aggie Radio, your Cache Valley home for Utah State athletics. To learn more about Aggie Radio or to get involved, visit our website, aggieradio.com. And make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Aggie Radio for sports, news, and music updates.
All right, back underway. Utah State gets the ball inbounds, and Shannon Duffy is fouled immediately. She's going to go to the free throw line for a couple of shots. Utah State with a 6-point lead over the Mountain West Conference defending champs Boise State. 56.2 seconds to go in this one. Boise State playing the foul game. First free throw is good from Shannon Duffy. She has now got 23 points, 11 rebounds in this game. That puts Utah State up by 7. Again, 56.2 is what's on the clock. Last time Boise State got the ball all the way down the court and laid it in with only taking about 6 seconds off the clock. Utah State's going to have to tighten up the defense a little bit. Shannon Duffy goes 2 for 2 there. Here's a long 3 launched by Boise State's Brady Hodgins. She'll miss, and the rebound is brought down by Olivia West. Olivia is fouled and will go to the other side of the court for a couple of free throws. Utah State feeling like they might have this thing in check. That's Jade Christopher with the foul. Utah State with the 8-point lead. 2 free throws coming. 48.2 seconds to go. First one is good from Olivia. She's been big in this game for the Aggies now. 11 points, 4 rebounds. Second shot rattles in and out. And the rebound to Harrell. Boise State with 42 seconds to go. A long shot taken, missed from 3 by Christopher. Rebound battled around. Eventually, Brewster will get it. Is knocked down to the ground. Is going to go to the other side for free throws. The foul on Harrell. And Utah State, I think, can start to relax a little bit. 77-68, they lead. 34.7 on the clock. Rachel Brewster, if she hits both of these free throws, I don't want to jinx it. Maybe I should say this a little bit quieter. If she hits both these free throws, will tie her career high 22 points. And the first one's good. She's also got 7 rebounds in this one, 6 assists. And the second one is good. So Brewster ties her career high as she puts Utah State up by 11 over the top team in the conference. Broncos know that this thing is pretty much all but over. Ermita in the corner, passes it out to the right wing. A 3 taken, missed by Christopher. I think Brewster got a little bit of a piece of that one, and so give Brewster the block on top of all of her other stats she's recorded in this one. The rebound is brought down by Shannon Duffy, who's fouled and is going to go to the stripe yet again. Aggies feel like they have this thing under control. 79-68, 17 seconds to go. How about 2 more shots coming for Shannon Duffy with 24 points and 12 rebounds in this game. Her first one is good. Puts Utah State up 80-68. Second one good as well. So 26 points on 9 of 14 and a perfect 8 of 8 from the stripe. Here's a steal by Gorman, and this thing is over. Utah State will knock off the Mountain West Conference defending champs Boise State in the one and only meeting of the season. Here's the horn. Utah State wins it 81-68. How about that for a team that has had an up and down season, a team that has struggled to find any rhythm this year, and what a win it was. Can't wait to hear from Coach Finkbeiner and hear what he has to say about this one. You know, he said he had a good feeling coming into this, and he felt like this is a squad who his team matches up well with, and boy, was he right, as the Aggies come out with the 81-68 win, giving Boise State just its 4th loss of the entire season. Boise State falls to 21-4, 12-2 in conference play. Utah State moves up to 12-13, and overall 6-7 in Mountain West Conference play. Here comes Coach Finkbeiner for a word. Coach, I bet that one was fun. I mean,
that was fun.
What a win.
That was fun. As you know, by far, just obviously we beat a really good team. We've only lost 4 games on the season, and obviously that has been our best game this season from tip to finish. I thought we started the first 3 quarters. We gave up probably 4, 6, 8 points in each quarter to start each quarter, other than the 4th. And also in the 4th quarter, we really played well. Really played well.
Well, and it seems like, you know, kind of one of the themes of the season that we've talked about so many times is you needing production from several players all at the same time. You get that tonight.
We got that. Yeah, we got that. And can you believe Steph Gorman? I mean, both those threes
so big down the stretch.
Probably ill-advised, but Steph is very much of a ice water kid. I mean, she didn't feel the pressure, and she's taking me literally. When you're open, Steph, shoot it. So regardless of the situation. But, yeah, you know, Rachel Brewster had a huge first half. Shannon Duffy had a huge second half. And then we had 4 players in double figures. So, and despite, Haley Bassett just struggled all game long. And despite her struggle, we played good enough to beat a really good team.
Well, and, in the grand scheme of things, it's one win despite, or, regardless of who you're playing. But I'm sure that you know, in your minds, getting a win over the top team in the conference is going to do loads for the confidence of this team.
It should. It should. We've been kind of, you know, preaching it in practice, and, you know, you've heard some of it in our road trips, that we can beat anybody, but the problem is we can lose anybody, and so we're just not a consistent team. But this will go a long ways away of we can play 40 minutes, and we can play against good teams, and we can beat good teams. So, yeah, this should go a long ways. We've got 3 games left, 2 on the road, 1 at home. This should go a long ways for us.
Well, Coach, you said it was a 40-minute win, and what a big one it was. Yeah. Congrats on knocking off the defending champs.
You know, and we can score more than 50 points. So, so a little bit of jest there, but I can't believe the struggles we have this year of scoring. But we have opened things up on offense, and I'm hoping this continues with this kind of conference we're playing with.
Well, enjoy the win.
Thank you, Jaden.
Big one. Thank you, Coach. So that's Utah State head coach Jerry Finkbeiner. We're going to have Rachel Brewster here to join us in just a moment. You know, how big she has really just come around this season, the last 3 or 4 games, putting up monster numbers for Utah State. And here she comes now, throwing on the headset. Rachel, I mean, first things first, what a win. 81-68 over the defending champs.
Amazing. Yeah, that was an amazing game. Incredible win. Huge.
What is that like for you guys, being out there on the court, realizing, you know, we're playing some of our best basketball of the season and in such a big game?
Yeah, I mean, we knew from the start how important this game was and how big this game was. And, you know, Coach said right before the game, like, we have to play our best to win this game. And, I mean, we obviously did that. And it's really cool to see how well we can really play. And I think it's the timing is really, really good for us just finishing off the season.
Well, and things were really clicking for you, especially in the first half. I mean, it seems like you couldn't miss. And when you get into a rhythm, it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah. I guess just these last few games I've been feeling really, really confident and just putting up my shots and not worrying if they miss. And, yeah, they're dropping for me. I just need to make sure I stay consistent in the games and not have such quiet second halves.
Well, you tie a career high 22 points.
Yeah, I've tried it like 4 times now. I can't get over it.
That's why you wear number 22, right?
Yeah, it's my number.
I figure there's some correlation there.
Yeah.
And now you've got just 3 games left in conference play.
Yep.
But I have to imagine getting a win over the team that's been so dominant in the conference the last few years. It's got to do loads for you guys as you head towards the conference tournament.
Yeah, it's a huge confidence builder. You know, our matchups were good with that team, and they had a couple of players out. So, yeah, they can still be a lot. You know, they're a lot more harder than they were tonight. I mean, it was such a huge, you know, big game. But yeah, just confidence-wise, it's huge for us, and we think that, you know, we can play everyone in the conference now. So, it feels pretty good.
Well, Rachel, go celebrate it. Congrats on such a huge win.
Thank you.
Of course. That's Utah State senior Rachel Brewster, a 22-point, 7-rebound, 6-assist performance in Utah State's 81-68 victory over Boise State. We're going to take a timeout. If you want to listen to more of our post-game show, hop online, AggieRadio.com. There's a YouTube stream on the front page. Hit play on that, and you can hear a little bit more post-game analysis. We'll come back with some stats, take a look at the leaders for both sides, and then close this thing out. But if you're listening to us here on the Mountain West Network and Stadium, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the game. And we'll be back at it as Boise State takes on San Diego State on the 27th. That's the Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. here on Aggie Radio. All right, back in a moment. Hop online to AggieRadio.com if you're not already. And we'll be back in a moment with post-game action. Utah State beats Boise State 81-68 here at the Spectrum.
This broadcast is brought to you by Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU and USU Online. USU Online offers associate's, bachelor's, and master's degrees all through their distance education program. More information is available at distance.usu.edu. USU Online, distance.usu.edu.
Utah State basketball is brought to you by Aggie Radio 92.3 KBLU and Zions Bank. More information about banking services available at zionsbank.com.
Whether it be EDM, Pop, or just good music, your boy Jonesy has got you covered. By request, I'm bringing back the show Jones Zone. Depending on the week, I'll be focusing on a different style and genre of electronic music to show you exactly what kind of music is out there. The show will be every Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So make sure to tune in, party, and chill with me, Jonesy, here on the Jones Zone on Aggie Radio 92.3 FM.
Utah State capturing their signature victory of the season, an 81-68 win over Boise State, and how big was that for the Aggies? You know, it was the kind of game that we've seen Utah State play several times this year, where through three quarters they're right there. It's back and forth. It feels really good for Utah State fans. And then I'm sure that there was a lot of apprehension by Utah State faithful heading into the fourth after they've seen several times this team kind of crumble under the pressure of the fourth quarter in these tight games. But that was not the case this afternoon. Utah State just came out and they put the foot on the pedal in the fourth. They actually outscored Boise State 29-18 in that final period. Now, a lot of that had to do with free throws and, you know, playing the foul game at the end for Boise State. But Boise State started fouling Utah State with, I think it was a 5-point game with still like a minute and a half to go. And so they started fouling very early, kind of daring Utah State to beat them from the free throw line. And sure enough, they do. I mean, they come out and after starting from the free throw line, 5 of 11, they end up from the free throw line 21 of 29. So they missed 6 early on, and then they only missed 7 in the entire game. I'm sorry, I guess that's 8 in the entire game. They really just kind of turned things around there from the stripe at the end. And you know, that's a sign of a mature team that's starting to find their rhythm. And you know, you can attribute a lot of this to the maturity and the experience of Rachel Brewster and Shannon Duffy, two very experienced upperclassmen. But then you get an enormous performance from Steph Gorman. I mean, 13 points doesn't pop off the paper by any means, but she comes in, goes 3 of 6 from 3. Most of those coming right down the stretch. Had 5 rebounds as well, 3 assists. And, you know, that was one of the players that Coach Finkbeiner came over and really you know, kind of pointed out from this game and said how big her performance was for Utah State. And it's hard to argue that. So Utah State with 3 games left now will go and they'll take on San Diego State on the road. A San Diego State team which is looking pretty tough as of late. And a team that, you know, beat Utah State here in the Spectrum not long ago. So Utah State will try and find some revenge on the road over the Aztecs. And then they go to Nevada. If you've watched Utah State and Nevada the last few years, you know how tight those games are always contested. And that one should be fun as well. And then they close things out here at home against Colorado State. Then they get that final week bye. They get that last day off. And as they can just kind of watch what's going on around the conference and get ready for the Mountain West tournament. Let's take a look at what's going on elsewhere in the conference. Nevada up big on Fresno State at halftime on the road, 32-18. That's maybe the surprising score of the day. San Jose State up on Air Force, 33-19. I tell you, San Jose State's starting to figure it out. That's in San Jose. There are not going to be any easy games in this Mountain West Conference tournament. UNLV defeats San Diego State 62-49. And so San Diego State not able to do Utah State any favors as the Aggies are probably cheering for UNLV to lose as much as possible so they can try and hop them in the standings. But UNLV comes up with that win. And then Wyoming defeating Colorado State 56-32. Over on the men's side, they are in overtime. Boise State and Utah State up in Boise with about 3.5 minutes to go in overtime. Utah State up 70-68. I don't think we'll still be on air when that thing winds up or wraps up, but we will keep an eye on that. And if you want to hear that, you can hop on to 92.3 FM in Cache Valley, where Scotty G is on the call right now. I bet that's a fun one to listen to in overtime. All right, some final stats from this one. Utah State is led by Shannon Duffy, 26 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists in this game. And, you know, she's had a handful of games where she has put up very similar numbers to that, where she has just gone off. And then as of late, a few of these last games, she's struggled to score the ball. She's still been really consistent rebounding, but, only 6 points in that last game against New Mexico. And she's had a few games where her numbers have been a little bit down, so it's so good to see her get back up in those numbers and to lead the team in both scoring and rebounding, as she has done so many times this season, picking up her 15th double-double of the year. And we easily could have talked to her post-game. It's kind of a toss-up whether to bring her over or to talk to Rachel. But Rachel Brewster goes for 22 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, and a block. 13 points for Steph Gorman, 11 points for Olivia West, who went 3 of 5 from the three-point line. That was enormous for Utah State. 4 points for Deja Mason, 3 from Marlene Eniambosu, and 2 for Olivia West. For Boise State, 23 points from Hodgins. Came out, had a big game, went 7 of 12 from the field. 14 from Coleman, 11 from Ermita, 10 from Christopher, 7 for Lavelle, and 3 for Bowers. And that wraps up Boise State scores. They were led in rebounding by Harrell, who went 0 of 8 from the field but had 9 rebounds for Boise State. She also had 5 steals, so a defensive monster, and made a huge impact, but just not on the offensive end. And then 7 assists for Jade Christopher, along with her 10 points. For Utah State, other leaders outside of scoring and rebounding, 7 assists for Eliza West. I think 6 of those came in the second half. I'd have to look, but I'm pretty sure she only had 1 at halftime. So it really came up big in the second half. 6 assists for Rachel Brewster. And Utah State, one of the more impressive numbers from this game, 22 assists on 27 made shots. So only 5 unassisted shots in this entire game. Or I should say unassisted makes. And that was a huge part that led to Utah State's win. The Aggies shot 56% from the field and 38% from 3. After those numbers have been down for a streak of games, good to see those numbers climbing back up. And for Boise State, 39% from the field, 24% from 3 for one of the better shooting teams in the nation. I think a lot of credit needs to go to this Aggie defense. They did force 18 turnovers and turned it over 22 times on their own. All right, we're going to wrap things up from here at the Spectrum. But again, you can catch us this Wednesday night. We will be out in San Diego, where the Aggies will take on the Aztecs for the second matchup of the season between those two teams. Utah State looking for revenge after a very good game here just back on the 9th of February, where San Diego State won 56-54. I expect it to be another tight game down in beautiful San Diego. That's Wednesday night. Tuesday night, you can catch the Utah State men's game as they take on San Diego State here in Logan. 7 o'clock p.m. Scotty G will be on the call for that. Both these games will be streamed online at AggieRadio.com, as well as on 92.3 FM in Cache Valley. Utah State hands Boise State their 4th loss of the entire season. Broncos now 21-4, 12-2 on the season, and what a win it was for Utah State. Thanks for joining us for Utah State Women's Hoops here on Aggie Radio and AggieRadio.com, where the final score from Logan, Utah State 81, Boise State 68. I'm Jaden Johnson. Signing off. This has been Utah State Women's Hoops from Learfield IMG College.
On the Aggie Sports Network, this has been Utah State Women's Basketball. The proceeding has been a Learfield IMG College presentation of the Aggie Sports Network.